What's going on, everybody? Dan Becker here. Thanks for coming back to my channel. We're in the third season of the year, fall. Like you didn't know that already, but it's colder this time of year. So in this video, I've got seven cold weather tips for you guys, especially if you are the new camper, backpacker, or hiker. But speaking of cold, I'm actually a little chilly. I think we should really quickly go sit by the fire because it's cold weather tips. What do you think?
Yeah.
I like that idea. Let's go do that. That's better. Welcome to Fireside Chats with Dan Becker. This might not have been a good idea. So, as a new camper, cold weather, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. The first mistake that you're probably gonna make is sweating when it's cold outside. Now, that's very easy to do. It actually sounds like it's not easy to do, but it is, especially when you get to camp. You're working hard to get camp set up. You're working hard to get a fire started. Maybe you hiked to get to camp if you're a hiker or a backpacker, so you worked up a big sweat there. But when it drops in temperature, you're gonna get very cold. And it can actually get dangerously cold, especially in the fall time, depending on where you're at and what your climate is like. If it dips below freezing, that's a recipe for hypothermia. It's one of the biggest mistakes you can make is getting sweaty. And how you can combat this is by just simply not working as hard or making sure that you understand when you are starting to sweat. And so that way you maybe just stop what you're doing, try to cool down a little bit. I know it sounds counterproductive because it's cold out, but you definitely don't want to have hypothermia in the backcountry or while you're at camp. All right, the second mistake that I see new campers make is that, and this is gonna help with the first mistake, is they're not layering properly. And maybe you don't know what that even means, to layer properly, or what layering is, but what I do is I will actually wear very thin layers and layer them up into one big bulky layer for myself at camp when I get really cold or when it gets cold. And I actually bring 5 layers in the wintertime. I wear a t-shirt, I wear 2 mid layers, I wear a puffy, and then I also bring a hard shell like a rain jacket, something that's kind of old that I can, sit outside in front of a fire, not worry about the embers hitting my nice, expensive puffy jackets. And and what that is going to do is it's going to help you regulate that temperature. It's going to help you when you are very cold to bundle up nice and thick. Or if you are hiking or moving around at camp getting things done, you can take off a bunch of layers and you can you can take off a bunch of layers and you can cool down and hopefully release some of that moisture and not have so much sweat and smoke. I gotta move. Is that better?
Yep.
I am definitely working up a sweat. Okay, the third mistake. Oh my gosh. Third mistake that I see. So the third mistake that I see people make is believing what the temperature rating is on a sleeping bag. Now, just as a rule of thumb, never believe what the temperature rating is on a sleeping bag. There's maybe a little known fact among most people who camp. It's that there's actually a standard, it's called an EN rating, for temperature ratings on sleeping bags. And not all companies use it. There's no law that says companies have to use it, but good companies will use an EN rating. And what that does is it keeps companies honest. And there's really 3 ratings in that EN rating. You're gonna have a comfort rating, you're gonna have a transition rating, and you're gonna have a risk or a survival rating. And what most people want is the comfort rating. But what people may not know is that companies can decide which of any of those 3 ratings to put on the sleeping bag. So you may get a sleeping bag that you bought that says that it's a 20-degree Fahrenheit sleeping bag, when in reality, maybe that's the risk rating, or maybe that is the comfort rating. You really don't know until you dig deep into the website. But as a rule of thumb, don't believe it, and every time you see a rating on a sleeping bag, just go ahead and add 10, 15, possibly even 20 degrees to that bag so you know how comfortable you're gonna sleep at night. And what you could do is you can dig into the website, learn more about the manufacturer, and find out, is that company being honest? Are they using an EN rating on their sleeping bags? And if so, what rating is the correct rating that's on the bag? All of the gear that I'm showing you, you can actually buy it over at backcountry.com. And a really cool thing about Backcountry is that you can actually go on there and talk to their gearheads who are former Olympians, former athletes, and former trail guides. And you know that if you are talking to a trail guide, they have more than likely slept at cold temperatures. if they've more than likely slept at cold temperatures, they can more than likely help you purchase the right gear. So I would jump online at Backcountry, ask them about the gear. Also jump on and talk about my coupon code, DANB15. It's gonna give you 15% off. 15% off. Not only 15%, but 15% of the smoke coming out of this fire. That's what I wish. Some exclusions do apply, but please make sure you look in the description below, because that's where you can click on the link and it'll take you directly to the backcountry. It won't take you to the backcountry. I wish. But it will take you to backcountry.com, and hopefully it'll save you guys a couple bucks. Mistake number 4. Let's just stick with insulation and sleeping, because I think that's probably where Jiminy. What? Number 4, the big mistake. Insulation under you. New campers don't even think about insulating underneath you when you're sleeping. Most people think, especially as a new camper, that if you buy a properly rated sleeping bag and you've got that temperature rating that's gonna, meet the temperature that's forecasted that night, that you're somehow gonna sleep warm. But what people don't understand is, a lot of people don't understand, is that if the ground is cold, which it's probably going to be cold, that's gonna suck that heat right out of you. And so you actually have to have an entire sleep system, not just a sleeping bag, but an entire sleeping system, which means that you also need a properly rated sleeping pad. This one just happens to be the Summit Etherlight. This is I wanna say this is like a 6.2 R value pad. Now, if that's totally confusing to you, that's totally fine. Just know that that means that this is a deep winter pad. I could probably lay this on snow, lay on top of it, and be toasty warm. That's what this pad is rated for. So this would be a proper pad for me to take out in cold weather to stay warm all night. All right, number 5, mistake number 5 that I see new campers make all the time, and actually a lot of veterans I see make this mistake all the time, is that they actually blow up the pad with their lungs. They will breathe the moisture out of their body into the pad, and the problem with that is that moisture inside of the pad is actually going to reduce the R value, because it's going to create cold air inside of the pad. So what you're going to want to do is either use most pads are going to come with an included pump sack, just like the Etherlight does, or you're going to go out and buy yourself a pump that inflates your pad like this one. And I'll put a link in the description below for this and all of the gear that I'm talking about today. But what that's gonna do is it's gonna blow dry air inside of that pad, so you're not gonna have to worry about that moisture, and it's gonna help that pad to be more effective as you're sleeping at night and keep you a lot warmer. All right, number 6, mistake number 6. And this is just something I learned on my own. Nobody told me this at all. I just kind of did this through experience and woke up one day and went, man, I probably should have done this instead. And the mistake is that in the wintertime, guys will bring something like this, an inflatable pillow. And while this does work, and it can be comfortable, and it can be warm depending on what you're using to insulate, like your head, if it's got a big hood or sweatshirts or whatever you're using. But this is gonna have the same problem as a poorly rated sleeping pad, in that most pillows that I am aware of don't have insulation inside of them, so they're not rated for temperatures at all. There's no R value to this at all. So the mistake is using an air pillow, but what you can do is use something like this, just a regular pillow. And this is the Thermarest compressible pillow. It's my favorite pillow of all time. It feels like a regular pillow. I've talked about this many times in other videos. This is actually gonna be obviously insulated because of all of the foam that's inside of this right here. And this is for sure gonna keep you a lot warmer underneath you. It's not gonna suck that air right out of you. The air, you have an airhead? If you have air in your head, you've got more problems than staying warm at night. But use a real pillow, really, seriously, that's gonna be a lot better so that you can stay warmer at night when you're sleeping. Mistake number 7 that I see people making is that they forget to put their water filter inside of their tent at night, and it freezes, and then they have to throw their water filter away because it's not gonna work. Now, if you read the directions on most water filters similar to this one, and this is just a Catadine Be Free, if this freezes at night, it can crack the membrane, especially if you used it the day before and it's got water still in it, which is pretty likely. That water is gonna freeze, and it's gonna make this water filter absolutely useless and very dangerous to use. You don't wanna do that. So you can keep this water filter You can keep the water filter inside of your sleeping bag. You can keep it in a pocket. Some sleeping bags actually have built-in pockets on them where you can put things that you want to keep warm at night not even just a water filter, but you can also keep a battery bank in there. You can keep your cell phone in there. Anything that you want to make last longer. But this is probably the most important for you because you obviously need water to filter. Now, in the wintertime, if there's snow, you're obviously not going to bring a water filter necessarily. You might be boiling snow or that kind of thing. But I always bring a water filter anyway, just in case I can't find snow, or if it's not that cold and it's fall like this, there isn't going to be snow, and I'm going to be filtering the water, so I want to make sure that this doesn't freeze overnight. That is the mistake number 7. All right, guys, hopefully that helps you guys out. If you guys have tips, please put them in the comments below. Always helpful. And yes, I understand this is not a be-all, end-all to tips. This is not an all-comprehensive mistakes list at all. Let us know some of the mistakes that you guys have made in the comments below, and hopefully it'll help everybody out. All right? We'll see you on the next one.